You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Ian Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming live on Ustream. This is AfterBuzz TV for Boardwalk Empire. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest Boardwalk Empire news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AfterBuzz TV for Boardwalk Empire.
Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday evening. It's Tamara here with Michelle Macedo, Kevin Undergaro, and Jesse Janity in the booth for Boardwalk Empire. We are on Season 3, episode, I think this is 7? Episode 7. I have that it was called Pig of Old, but somewhere else it said it was something else. Anywho, it's episode 7. Let's get right into it, shall we?
Why is it Pig of Old? It's been
because that was Margaret's
so her
Margaret's,
old day,
her given
Gotcha.
name, and she changed
That's
it to
when she came to America.
when she came to America
her original name was Pig.
to change her identity.
And we know why was it the previous episode, Dangerous Maid?
Yes.
Or the one before, we know why.
Two before. Yeah,
We
two
know
before.
why.
Yeah, it was the Dangerous Maid. So Jimmy is really kind of coming up and really starting to show his hand now, to us at least.
Well, it was definitely the young guard is totally stepping up. The meeting takes place at the Commodores, which now Jimmy, and you notice Jimmy's in the really black gangster suit now. He's a total gangster.
Yeah, he's stepping into the role.
And
for
you know,
sure.
I love this. You've got a young Al Capone, you've got a young Lucky, a young Meyer Lansky.
Yep.
And all of them discussing, along, of course, with Eli, who shows up late, all of them discussing, this is the time for us to take down the big, let's take down the old guys.
Right, because Jimmy says, I've got the Coast Guard in my back pocket, the sheriff's on board, Eli.
He said, as of now.
Right.
He's so smart. He's like, as of now, I have the Coast Guard. I have all these things set up.
He's got everything in place. And, we're getting into,
and of course, Mom comes in and
Jillian,
And Jillian, she gives a look over to Lucky because, she had an affair with him, remember?
Right.
And she says, the geisha will leave the room, and you can tell she's a little peeved that she's not involved when clearly we know she's involved with everything.
Oh, yeah. She's got her fingers in
She is
every
controlling
pie in
this,
that world.
is manipulating Jimmy more than anyone else. He lets her the closest, so.
Yeah.
She's trying to.
Well, because she knows he's where the
to.
power is, or the future power is, because she, Commodore, obviously not anymore.
No.
That ship has sailed.
Right. It was great that they started the meeting without Eli. So once again, Eli's bumped to the back like he was. It's the same thing with Nucky all over again.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
And when he was like, just kill him.
Poor Eli. Yeah, that shocked me. I mean, I wrote that down. Just kill him.
Well, it's over between them.
Well, yeah,
it's
over
by
the fight they had last week.
Because he said, what about Pop? And, Nucky was like, no, that's it. Get out of here. So at this point, plus he's taken that step now with a point of no return where he murdered somebody last week.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So now it's just like, just kill him.
He's fallen onto the bad side. It's over.
That's
just do it. There's no turning back.
Fully committed.
That's a great point.
And so it's like, just kill him. And it's interesting. Of course, Al Capone's like, yeah, just kill him.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few times Lucky. I thought it was interesting to see Lucky Luciano go at Al Capone as well.
Yeah.
And in history, I'm sure that's accurate. I just never knew. I thought Al Capone was always like the big boss, but that would make sense because he's Chicago and Lucky's New York. And once again, Meyer Lansky is just, no, calm down. See, the Jewish guys keep the cool heads.
They do,
they all
don't
get
they?
reckless.
Italian guys get crazy. That's just how it is. Italian guys get crazy. The Jewish guys just, they stay calm, stay focused.
Right.
But my goodness, I love seeing the baby gangsters. I love seeing I say it every week. I know I'm being repetitive, but I love seeing these historical characters
coming up and coming into their own
and ready to make their move. And I think it's interesting. And, it was interesting too. Richard, once again, one of our favorite characters, right? We love him. Mm-hmm. He's like, you would kill your brother.
Yeah.
No, I'll have someone else do it. He's still like, it's just like Nucky said, you're just a little boy.
Right.
Yes.
He can't,
so true.
he can't, just have someone else do it. But I love how Richard, you can tell he doesn't, and just in that one line, that's all you need.
He has a code of ethics. He's got some
but
sort
again,
of chivalry
great
to him.
writing, which, John Comerford always is teaching is, just how much less is more. Just in that one line, that's all you needed.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
so much about Richard and his character.
And that's the only time he spoke in
That's
the
it.
episode.
No,
That is. The whole episode is his only line.
It's the only time he needed to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
But it takes, because actually John Comerford, as you speak about, and I were working on a project today when we were writing, and we'd been given something to rewrite, which is often what our job is, and it took at the point where you're doing that, where you're paring things down and trying to get to the meat of the heart of the matter, it really comes down to planning every single word, and that is something that I think they do really fantastically well on this show.
Everything.
And that's just a great example when you're talking about Richard. There are no wasted words with this guy.
None.
Every single thing he says
great
is
storytelling and great filmmaking and great, to me, this is a movie.
Mm-hmm.
We're treated to a movie every week.
Yep.
And to me, every season is a 12-hour movie. And I sit and I watch this show, and we're blessed to have a big 20-foot screen that we watch this on in our screening room. But it's just, to see this, I'm like, I'm so thrilled to come in and watch this show, because HBO put so much into this, and in terms of using everything in storytelling.
Yes.
In that 1 hour, we are getting the lines, we get the production design, we get the costumes, we get the sets, we get the cameras. We get the camera movement, of course, we get the acting. But when we saw the preview tonight, and in most of these shows now, it seems like the preview just always sets you up for what you're going to see that night.
Last week on Boardwalk Empire or whatever. Yeah.
And you're seeing it. AMC, I feel like, started it. But they'll show not scenes from... It used to traditionally be in television, it would show scenes from last week.
Right.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. It's always select scenes from the history of the series, but that are going to be in
touched upon
this
on
night's episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we saw it, I said to you guys, my God, they're going to have to touch on a lot, because there's so many characters. So just imagine how great the storytelling is, that in under an hour, they've got to touch on all of these characters. We're talking maybe a dozen significant characters. And where other shows that aren't as well done, you can see that they force some of these other characters to get a line or two because of politics, maybe an agent or whatever says, we have to give this person a line, or maybe they feel as though, well, they're part of the series, they have to say something.
Right.
But for this, I never feel like that. I never feel like anything is forced. I never feel like they're forcing any storytelling. And yet I know these characters so well, even though they're not spending, let's say, 3 hours a week on it.
The more time they spend with a particular character, the more maybe comfortable I am, because we spent a lot of time with Margaret in this episode, and not a lot of words, but a lot of time.
And that's patient storytelling too, which is very European. Everyone says American filmmakers
don't know how to tell a story that way.
Well, they're not allowed to. They're like a good American director gets really upset. Woody Allen's big beef was always like, American audiences can't sit through. It's got to be 90 minutes and in and out of scenes, and you have no time to be patient. But I feel like we're being very patient here.
We barely heard from Nucky at all this episode. I mean, mostly Margaret, whereas usually it's the other way around.
Yeah,
she's just a side story.
But I love when we spend a little more time, like we did with the Richard episode, and we really got to just really fall in love with him.
Him out in the woods, yes.
And and then and actually Nucky's episode last season, where we really got to spend, or beginning of the season, I can't remember, where we really got to spend some time with him, and we heard about his tragic loss of his wife, and that he never had a child, and all of this kind of stuff. And so I love it when they do take some time there. And I know we got a lot of story to cover each week, because it's Prohibition and it's corruption and all this kind of stuff. But when they weave in the characters,
it's just storytelling at its very best. At its very, very best. And we're so treated. And I feel like every time I try to get into a new series, I watched Boss. I had very high hopes for that on Stars, and the acting is excellent.
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel organic to me. It felt like what's going on in politics there was more prevalent. My studies of politics was much more prevalent.
Because that's Chicago in the 60s, 50s, 40s, 50s,
No,
60s?
Chicago of today.
Oh, today?
But it's
it's
interesting
today.
you say that, Tammy, because it feels like
Right.
what went on in Chicago, Boston, New York politics all the way up to about probably the early 80s. Meaning that's when like corruption was rampant in those places. But it's not necessarily like we've gotten more ethical. It's just we're more exposed now in the information. You can't get away with as much.
Desensitized.
So the days of mayors
I agree.
having legs broken and things like that are over. And that's where, for me, that show like has a lot of that, in it. And it's like, I cringe. But there's a lot of things that are done well. Some of the politics that they portray seems very accurate. But I'm seeing that with a lot of series. But again, I'm if
This
there
one
wasn't
just hits
this
it
show,
on
if it wasn't for this show, or
yeah.
The Sopranos or Breaking Bad, I'd probably be more forgiving.
Right.
I think it does very well. Well, can we talk about the last line? So when Jimmy's conflicted, obviously he doesn't want to kill Nucky.
Right,
because
exactly.
he
He's
feels
sitting
like
there shaking his head.
His father, but in that moment, he knows he can't.
Right.
He can't say no.
Right.
In that room, or probably he would appear weak. I mean, it didn't make sense business wise not to kill Nucky.
Right.
Yeah.
He couldn't justify it. So business wise, it makes sense to kill him. It's a personal decision not to.
Yeah.
And he can't justify it in the room. And he's smart enough to say, okay, and let it go. And I just, again, the way he led that meeting, it just shows how much he's grown and how much he really is the Commodore's son and Nucky's son. And I know symbolically.
Right.
But the way he ran the meeting, it's like, wow, this guy's really filling these shoes nicely.
Yeah.
But again, he still has that, he does have some ethics to him where he doesn't want to kill Nucky.
Yeah.
But he can't stop it. So it's going to go down. He talks to his mom about it. And of course, what does mom say? Yeah, you got to pop
do
up.
it.
Yeah,
You gotta
she's
do it.
total gangster.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
I think we talked about how her past probably crushed any of her ethics.
Of course.
Other than her connection with him, which is weird.
Yeah.
To say the least.
To say
Right?
the least.
So he's conflicted, but he walks up to Nucky right before Nucky is shot and he says, right or wrong, just make a decision.
Right.
I'm dying to hear what you guys think. Why? What did that line mean? And what was he trying to do? I mean, was his okay, let me follow with this question.
Yeah,
was this his
please
Al
do.
Pacino moment
did I
saying,
put
I
that?
know it was you, Fredo? I mean, like, was it like he was just saying, is that his way of saying goodbye? Or was he warning him? Or like, what was going on?
I felt like more than anything, it could have been a warning, but I quite honestly, I didn't really get it. I figured it was a bit of a tease and I was going to get more later, but I think you probably have an idea.
No, only to talking out loud now do I realize what it must have been. For him to have said, right or wrong, just make a decision. He was delivering a message, and it wasn't a final message.
Right.
A final message would have been like, I just want you to know I loved you like a father.
Exactly.
Bang.
Right.
I want you to know this all could have been avoided. Bang.
Right.
So as I'm talking out loud, right or wrong, just make a decision means that he probably got to the hitman and told him to miss. That's all I can think of. Like he must have known he wasn't going to hit him.
Too.
He
that
must
it
have
was
known.
some code saying for him to say it too is something saying like this is really important. Pay attention right now.
Right? Yeah. Basically,
something
like
bad is gonna happen.
you're not gonna die right now, but after this,
Right.
just make a decision. Are you either gonna work with me or work against me? I guess. I mean, this is how
because we've been
because
sort
at
of
any given time, I can shoot you.
semi-peacefully coexisting up to
But
this
at
point.
any given moment,
Right.
I can take you out. This
Right.
is how easy it is.
Right.
So now you have to decide.
Okay, well that makes sense to me
I
then.
think.
I think so.
Because
Do you think it was in the plan for him to go up and say something?
I think his personal plan is that he must have gotten to the hitman and said to him, like, don't aim for the head.
Uh-huh.
He must have. I don't know. Because how would he have? He would have expected him to survive that.
Yeah.
You know?
And it looked like he got shot in the head at first when he went down.
I of course was looking away, so I can't speak on this.
Right.
All the
But
blood and
he
guts.
Well, it's a
did
I
very
try- I
graphic
hide away.
show.
After it was just the hand. It was just the hand that got shot.
Yeah.
So we'll find out. I'm just puzzled because he was definitely delivering a message that he expected to be responded to in the future.
Right, and not right,
So
and not be the
he
final
wasn't
message,
ex-
like you said.
question.
He wasn't expecting him to be killed, but he definitely couldn't. Unless he can, I don't. Well, you know what? We'll find out.
We'll find out, indeed.
It just.
Now, let me ask you this: why do you think that Nucky has never ordered the hit on Jimmy to this point?
Well, he always. I love Nucky's line. He seems like his credo. I'm a gentleman until
help
forced
people.
to be otherwise.
Right.
Oh, and then tonight we got that right. He's
Right.
like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't judge people. I help them. But I go by like I'm a gentleman until I'm pushed to do otherwise. And I feel like his way is to play the political game. He's not really a leg. He's not really a leg breaker or a thug. He'll go there to defend himself, but I think he wins in the political arena. That's where he fights his battles and wins.
And he learns things about people. He holds them against them or holds them hostage, but with information, with ties, with that sort of thing. He does more of a psychological game than a physical game.
Yes,
exactly.
and I like his. And by the way, and I just love his approach to business. He does that A or B thing that I love. It's like A, we can do this and I'll make a lot of money, or B, if you're gonna get in my way, then I'm gonna crush you.
Yes.
So take A instead of B.
Yeah.
He just makes it so simple.
Right.
I would always be on his side. I feel like
I'd
he
work
would
with
put it in
Nucky.
the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, another thing, now we're going to talk more about Nucky, I'm sure.
Exactly.
I love the Jack Dempsey thing. I'm a boxing fan, and this was after, say, Jack Johnson, this was the original, like one of the greats, probably in the top 10 of
heavyweight fights.
Yeah.
And
And so I love the idea that he more than likely trained in Atlantic City, and he's going to fight George Carpentier, maybe it is. Anyway, that's real too. But I love that. But what I especially loved was it's gonna be all the fight's gonna be on over wireless.
So
once again, we have this callback. I feel like to what's going on today.
Yeah.
So it's like those little reminders, and he's like, you need to go speak for the Radio Corporation of America. I just feel like the way media controls us and they have such a stake in things, and he was getting paid by it. Just I love that. I feel like it's the writer's subtle ways of
the
reminding us
information age.
like nothing's really changed too much, and we get these constant reminders every week, which I love. Makes them all more relatable.
Is new again.
Yeah. So
let's talk about Nucky, shall we?
So Nucky is really being pushed to the brink. We see a female prosecutor now be assigned to his case.
Right, Esther Randolph.
Which we'll have to look into whether she's real or not.
Yeah.
And as she says, Miss Randolph.
Right.
They gave some information about her when he was talking on the phone. Nucky knew a lot about her, right?
She's from USC.
Yeah, USC.
Right.
Which is
right?
great. So we're getting the left coast.
That's
We're
right.
going all the way to California, which is some, it's been
Right, so
it's been
she
Chicago
can't
to
be-
the east.
And so she can't be
Probably can't be corrupted.
corrupted by him. Yeah.
We see that, the hair short. I don't know if she's a lesbian or not, but we see that she doesn't seem she's taking crap from anybody.
Yeah.
No kidding. And you had said in the room, you went, oh, wait a second. This is a strong woman. And
This is the first strong woman I feel like our own Van Alden.
Van Alden has ever.
Because
somebody who stood up to him.
He stood up to him, and whereas Margaret can stand up to people, we see, but we see Margaret has her ethical flaws.
Yes.
She's gray. This is a woman who just
And also fulfills a romantic purpose, as well as Margaret is her own character. But this woman is the only woman that I've seen that has nothing to do with a man or some romance,
or,
sexualizing or anything.
Nope.
and,
So I'm wondering.
and she just goes right at him and,
Yep.
and chops him down. Well, I guess we should talk about Van Alden and Lucy.
Yeah, let's do.
Right. So we see the baby, and we see Lucy with what's left of her baby bump, which I love. I love how, like, in most TV shows, like
Yes,
the
I thought
character's
that
already
too.
Flat
deep
belly
in.
10 days later.
No,
Yeah.
it's just nice and loose, just like it would be.
Yes,
especially
that's what
back
I thought
then.
Too.
And she has her exchange with Van Alden. Van Alden, his wife isn't responding to him, and he's promised $3,000,
Right.
but
He doesn't have money.
I don't
have
have it. I don't have it.
it.
And she's just screaming at him, this is your baby. You need to do something about it. So she's kind of getting her
You
fire
bought
back,
this
right?
baby.
Right.
Yeah, you bought this baby. She's getting her fire back.
Right. And so, of course, she goes to Daddy Nucky.
Yep, that's
Oh, I
right.
know.
And we all laughed at The last time I was with you was May 24th. Like, he immediately was like,
right when she came in.
It's not my baby. I can prove it, which was great. And quickly, he gets all the information he needs. And being Nucky, he gives a gift of money. Mm-hmm. And he brings in Van Alden. And finally, who Van Alden's been hunting all this time. By the way, this is probably only the second time they've ever gone face to face.
Yeah, I think it's the second time.
I can't really
remember. Yeah, not many times have they been face to face.
Yeah, it's certainly
not
much.
He basically says, you can have door A or door B.
And if there's ever a time, today's the day you should drink.
Seriously.
Yeah, today's
Van
the
Alden
day.
turns him down.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice little grace note there.
Right. No, thank you, which is interesting. And by saying no, thank you, it's an indication, or it should be an indication to us that he's not.
I'm not playing your game.
I'm not going to play this game. And I'll tell you, I, as someone who has been blackmailed before, and if anyone in the audience is ever blackmailed, this is how you have to handle it.
Right.
It's like when Letterman got blackmailed.
Van Alden handled it?
Just lay it all out on the table.
It's the only way to take the power away from the blackmailer, because it's known that at least through history that blackmailers never stop. They're not smart enough to stop, to get their money and walk away. They'll always come back and come back and come back.
Sure.
So it was, not to really jump off the subject, but with Letterman, I always thought that was interesting. Immediately, when the guy had all the evidence or whatever left in his car and said, David Letterman was like, okay, and immediately went right to the police and knew it was all going to come out, knew it was going to totally destroy his baby mother and maybe even his career, but totally did the right thing and took the wind out of the guy's sails.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing you can do, and I love how Van Alden he approaches. Well,
but didn't you think for a second he was going to take it?
Take the money?
Yeah, yes. Be in concert
I did.
with Nucky.
I did. Too.
I totally thought he was going to.
Because he'd taken money before.
He did, but we all should have known when he wouldn't take the drink.
You're right.
I didn't.
That's
we
true.
all should
He
have known.
went there knowing what was going to happen.
You're right.
Right. And it's funny because we'll talk about a little bit in the news, but Michael Shannon, the actor who plays Van Alden, he talks about when he drinks what it does to him. It did to the character. And he'd say no, he kind of was cluing us in, which I didn't know at the time, that no, I'm not going to play ball. And so I generally root against him, but I liked this.
Against Van Alden.
Yes, but I loved how he was just like, nope, here's the thing. This is what I did wrong. Now all the cards are on the table, but here's all the evidence I have against him. And she's great. She's like, why are you holding out? Why were you holding out? And he's like, well, they told me to just concentrate on other things,
Right. On being a prohibition agent.
Right.
And be quiet about it.
And she said something interesting on her, like, keep it quiet.
Right.
But we'll say we'll handle.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Just don't go around telling everybody.
Right. So in other words, now they're going to smooth things over. So now, Nuggy, has lost that. He doesn't have him.
Right, because the thing is that Esther coming in is this big chip that he got his case elevated to federal court because he knew our friend Chris McDonald would be able to help him out, would keep him out of being prosecuted for the election abuse, and in comes Esther from USC. Who's really screwing up his plan. But you know what I think is interesting is Nucky isn't sweating yet, is he?
Well, but it's not in his. He should be, but he's not. I mean, because he has everyone coming after him.
Yeah,
everyone's coming after. I mean,
even by the end of the episode, somebody shoots at him. For God's sake, it's all falling apart. But you don't see him break a sweat.
Well,
at all.
I think because it's still the same as it was last week. Once he lost his. But even when the charges first came on him, he didn't really sweat it.
No, well, so he's either a sociopath, which he could be, or he's got more tricks up his sleeve.
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. Our lawyer always uses, the great Kevin Yorn always uses sports analogies with us, in the business, and he's like, "Listen, I know you guys are Patriots fans, but if you notice Tom Brady, he doesn't ever he's got people that are injured some weeks. He's got other weeks he's got like these crazy defenses coming at him and." His greatest strength is the fact he stays calm through it all, and he's like, and that's
for anybody,
what greats do. So I don't think it's a socio thing. It's just that this guy, that's why he's
gotten
he's dealing with every day. He's just dealing with arrows coming at him.
Yeah,
and he's able to better than anybody kind of navigate through them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a socio thing. I think it's just He has it. It's in his DNA.
Well, but I think also he's got more tricks up his sleeve, or at least he thinks he does.
I think he's used to it. I think right. I mean, to get to that level, I think he's used to this.
Yeah.
And yes, I do. It was because even when he went to jail, it was okay. But again, a lot of the guys I knew that were like corrupt back in the Boston area, it was just business as usual. They'd be out in 24 hours, whatever. Or if they got sentenced and went away, it was like, that's good. I got to lose some weight, so it'll be good for me. I usually drop like 30, 40 pounds when I go away. I mean, it's just it's a way of life, which is different to us. What did you guys think? I'm big on the symbolism, but when everything got moved, when Esther Randolph had Van Alden stuff moved to the back desk.
Yes.
There was he picked up
the little figurine,
the ashtray.
An ashtray, yes, it was a black guy being eaten by an alligator.
Like half of him was in the process of being
eaten. I just was like that. It's interesting. He did say to them, "You'll be eaten alive."
Yes.
By them without my help, which is true, because Nucky will beat them.
Yes.
But it's interesting. I just was like, the alligator and the black guy, is that Chalky? I don't know. We'll probably find out next week because we're going to see Chalky again. I love looking at that stuff. Well,
and seeing them as clues,
It's got to mean something for next week.
Yeah.
But Tim, you picked this up about Lucy.
Yeah.
Van Alden comes home after all this. He spills his guts to the federal agent, and he has this confrontation with Nucky. Comes home.
Where's my wife?
Yes, and there's the lady on the first floor is holding the baby and happy as anything, and he looks at the phonograph or the Victrola, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And Tammy, you knew. She's like, it's the dirty diaper. Dirty diaper with a dangerous maid, the top of her script, the play.
The play that she wants to be
that
in.
She was, And so basically, I'm going to
go be a star.
And I'm going to, and you're left.
And
I'm
you're left with the shit.
With the shit.
Exactly.
And I said to these guys, Lucy, 9 months, party girl, 9 months cooped up in that little prison. Now she's got some money from Nucky. Yeah. Oh, she's out. She's going out.
Definitely.
Not even thinking about sticking around at this point.
What about, there's another funny line from Nucky, too, about pick a name from the Bible. He tells him.
Yeah,
he tells
that's
Van
always
Alden.
A winner.
So funny to and you see Van Alden just wants to kill him because he feels himself such a religious man.
Yes.
So to hear that
and a righteous man.
And righteous man, and in there he is with the baby, and he's coming up with names. And I have a feeling, I'm not so sure the wifey poo isn't going to come back and take that baby.
We all thought it might have been the wife who was in there.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I think she's gonna come back.
Do you?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could talk about that in predictions.
I don't know. She was awfully fierce last week. When she bit him.
Oh
right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
I forgot about that.
And took off.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, I feel like he's more powerful without it. The baby will make him weak in one respect because he'll be more vulnerable.
Sure.
But he's got nothing to hide now.
Right.
He's back to what we knew him as from that first episode, where it's like he's clean and ready to go.
Right.
Like all the cards, everything's out. All the skeletons have been revealed.
Nothing to hide.
And he's just ready to fight now.
Yeah.
So he's going to be...
Can you imagine having a single father that is Van Alden?
Oh, no. Someone's going to have to come in. No.
Yeah, someone's not going to last.
Someone's going to have to come in. But it's interesting because I keep wanting to see not wanting to see, but I was like, geez, are Nucky and Van Alden going to have to just team up temporarily to take out this federal agent who's kind of getting in the way? And then I thought, well, now I'm back to thinking it'll be Jimmy and Nucky that will have to. I think ultimately there's going to be some kind of alliance struck with these characters that are all opposing each other.
Yeah.
For a greater good.
Yeah. Bigger picture.
Yeah.
You guys, so what about Margaret going into Brooklyn?
Oh, my God.
Okay, so this was where I was really, I loving how they just so slowly revealed the story. We knew she had skeletons in her closet. We knew there was a mystery from the maid, from Katie. We knew that somebody was calling her Peg. She goes to Brooklyn, all prettified, and sees Eamon at the door. And Eamon says, Peg? Back to her, and there are all these little kids and little girls talking, and there was a good we went back to, we didn't find out who any of these people were to her until the third time we came back.
Yeah, she was standing there for a long time.
Yeah, having dinner, talking about how she gets her money. I mean, clearly they were family. That was obvious, but
and just when she offered the taffy, he was just like,
Yeah, we can get that down at Luna Park, which is on Coney Island.
Right. So it's. But I was thinking of saltwater taffy because that's what they sell. So it's like, what is saltwater? Salt is salty, and then tears, and then taffy is sweet. So it's this bittersweet scene that's going on. I loved it. This guy reminded me of Liam Neeson, like a young Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
This actor, I don't know who he is.
The brother?
Yeah, Eamon.
Eamon, yes.
Eamon. But so this is where we finally learned that Margaret got pregnant back in Ireland from the barrister's son. Did he rape you? Basically, Eamon asked her, and she goes, no, not so much.
He asked her 2 questions, and she answered, she just said no. They asked, like, was it forced, and was he clean?
I didn't hear that. The accents was one of the issues with me in this one. I had the volume up so loud, and I was really trying to catch. Some of it was really subtext. Some of it I absolutely didn't get. But he said, but your kids, they're 4 and 7. What's the deal? And she had a miscarriage. So she got pregnant in Ireland, left the family, shame, full of shame, obviously, came over to the New World, miscarried on the journey. And, then she came back, then she came here to the U.S. and had to figure out what was next. We still don't exactly know why they hate her so much, though, do we?
I guess because she left him with all her sisters.
With all the siblings?
And the parents dying,
I think so. And also, I think she was kind of a party girl. Or there was just kind of problems.
Because he never stood up for her.
That I love it. She actually fights him back and says, "Okay, enough." Yes. She's with the little girl that loves the books, and
Amy,
they want the influence, and of course she wants to have a family with them. She wants to have some roots, and finally she stands up to him.
Right after he says, she says, "You're really upset with me," and he says, "Well, I don't feel much about you at all."
Right.
I know.
Right.
Which hurts more.
It does. And he definitely got the last word in. But it was interesting when she basically said, you let the priest, you let all these people, you didn't stand up for me then. So it feels like to me like she was seriously taken advantage of back in the day. And that would have created a ton of shame to an Irish Catholic family. Yeah. Where they wouldn't have stuck up for her, be like, ooh, and this person continues to have more and more problems. And we kind of see why she ends up gravitating toward a man that does have power, like Nucky, that can protect her. Because clearly her brother isn't. It was interesting with the little girl. She said, I like stories, anything with a horse in it. Why is that? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Freedom, maybe liberation. Liberation, exactly. I want to be able to have somewhere else to go.
Why don't we go to, Tim, commercial? We'll come back and we'll talk about Slater and, of course, Margaret.
Okay. We'll go to commercial. Alrighty.
The biggest new media platform on the web just got bigger. More bandwidth, smoother streaming, lightning fast download.
Don't get technical with me.
AfterBuzz TV is making the jump to hyperspace. Join the fun at your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Look at the size of that thing.
AfterBuzz TV.
Okay, we're back. So I have. Do we want to go to news now, or do we want to just finish up?
Let's finish with we see Slater sees someone from his past who betrayed him, and we see another graphic killing.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you guys really understand what went on with that?
Again, it was tough with the dialect for me.
Yeah.
Well, they were both from the old country. They were both from Ireland. Right. They were talking about politics and how much better it is here or how much different it is here. So they were obviously talking about that. But then it seemed to me, I mean, he was definitely Slater was targeting this other guy. Right, Kev?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
100%. And just some of the dialogue, everything's off in this country. You know, it was.
I love that.
So he wipes him out. It's so graphic how he strangles him.
Great
direction, with the door being almost pried open,
like this,
and the fingers pop off.
I was like, nope, can't watch it anymore.
I think that's just another skeleton that's going to come back later.
Yeah.
That'll pay off later. But we see him go to, we see Slater go to Margaret's house.
Wait, just real quick. In The Killing, I just wanted to talk about the production design with the people walking overhead.
Yes.
That was just, it was beautiful and terrifying and
All
creepy
together.
because there were people
walking above. Yeah, you
4
could see
feet
in
away here
in
and
the
on the other
glass.
side of the glass there, just so close. And,
And he killed him.
But
speaking to the production design, when I see that, all the stuff in Brooklyn, it reminds me so much of Boston's North End.
Really?
And all the stories from my
I was thinking that too.
all the stories from my grandparents, my father and my grandfather.
They grow up there?
And my mother's boyfriend's father, who's gone now, they all grew up there. All of them came up in that neighborhood. And when I used to make deliveries there, all those old buildings and old restaurants, they haven't really changed much.
Right.
I lived there.
So especially when you do the basement deliveries, like in the restaurant business, it's just so well done. I love seeing those exteriors, and the fire escapes, and I just get excited. As a history major, I love seeing it. But and I know because we're running out of time, but let's get to like Slater showing up at Margaret's house.
Yes.
And just their like dialogue.
Right. So she was struggling a little bit, going, shouldn't you be with Katie? How about Katie? And let's talk about Katie. And why aren't you at the beach with Katie? For God's sake, go talk to Katie, because otherwise I'm gonna crush.
And then go to Nucky, and he's like, well, which is it?
Yeah.
Where do you want? And so he immediately picks up, like clearly you're dodging, right?
Yeah.
It's not really about Katie or Nucky. It's just you're very uncomfortable with me.
And he's like, so this is how we're the same. Like,
right?
Okay, you're
Bringing
a
in the
little
commonality.
different. I'm a little different. Like, we're both the same.
And
like
everything's
that.
off in this country. And if I vanish, would anyone notice?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was like,
Do you think he really feels that way?
probably, because he's a loner, and he's like a lot of these characters, he's very detached.
He has to be to do his job.
Has to be to do his job. And we know, again, a lot of her innocence, like Ginny, has been crushed. The more we get to know about her past, we see a lot of her innocence has been crushed out of her too,
right?
And a lot of her faith, et cetera, et cetera. And I wrote in capital letters, why, when she says, "Bring my bag up," we all knew what that meant. And then my answer to why is a hatred of men. I think overall, just not seeing the brother and hearing what Priest and all them have done.
Right.
It's just like, nah, y'all suck anyway, so I might as well just enjoy myself.
Like they won't really protect her.
And then maybe it's just we see it maybe in her character to make bad decisions. Like maybe she's made bad decisions in her past. She had a bad husband.
Yes.
This barrister guy, if he didn't rape her, maybe she was attracted. So she might be attracted to bad things. It seems like one or the other, or a little bit of both.
Well, I think it's absolutely making bad choices, because even as she was kissing him, she was saying, "We will never speak of this again." She was readily admitting, "This is a mistake that I'm about to do right here."
But that's it.
This
but
is
I'm
right
going to do it
after
anyway.
the Sinner confessional episode,
Right.
by the way.
Right.
And I think then she must have left Ireland because she was pregnant, and it was like shameful.
It was shameful.
Yes,
Scandal.
of course.
So that's
and the shot of her. Look at the difference. It was pretty much the same shot of her having sex with Nucky as her having sex with Slater. And with Nucky, she's very bored. And with Slater, she's, oh my God, she's hot and heavy.
Her face is flashed, her hair is crazy, her eyes are wild. She's having a great old time.
having a good time.
But so we don't kill, Phil and Jesse don't have a heart attack.
Yeah, let's do.
Want to just go to news?
Yeah. But one of the things I just want to talk about is, just the idea that, not the idea that, there's so much to cover, especially in this show, because we like to go into the layers and layers and layers. And if there are things that we miss, do find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, tweet out questions, put questions on Facebook. If there are things that we're missing, or things that you'd like us to discuss, please let us know, because we would love to discuss. So I've got some quick news.
AfterBuzz TV News.
This is about Michael Shannon, who plays Van Alden. When asked if he thinks his character is crazy, he responded that he thinks Van Alden is complicated, which of course he is. Michael Shannon also likes comedy, and he thinks Van Alden is funny on occasion.
Right.
Yeah. Don't you think he is?
He is.
Yeah.
And we talk about this too, again, with these cream of the crop shows, Breaking Bad and this show, there's so much subtle humor throughout that we get to see.
Yeah, well, we laughed several times in this one.
So it's very astute that he sees that.
Yeah. Michael Shannon also copped to shooting much of the series in Brooklyn, which is his hometown. The Boardwalk is in Brooklyn, Greenpoint specifically. And in addition, many scenes are shot in Manhattan, Queens, Yonkers, and Rockaway for the ocean scenes. He doesn't own a car. And he doesn't watch TV.
Yeah, he's one of those bohemian, eccentric actors. I mean, I've heard Philip Seymour Hoffman's this way that, you meet these guys. It's funny in this business if they have to come out and work in L.A. or whatever when you see them. And I know through Maria Menounos, our executive producer here at AfterBuzz, I have access to all these people, and it's funny. A lot of these like true thespian artist types, it's always the same thing. They still live in New York or Brooklyn. I think like Paul Giamatti too. They don't watch TV. I remember Christopher Lloyd directing him on our upcoming film Serial Buddies. Just very quiet and more into reading. And he admitted to me, he's like, my wife watches a lot of the shows that are out there, but he's like, no, I really don't. So
Now I'm actually reading this. I didn't write this, but this was an interview with Jess Heyman, who.
She's with the Huffington Post.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, and if you want it, there's more in the interview
on the Huffington Post.
Yeah.
So another bit of news that came out this week is Steve Buscemi is set to direct an adaptation of the William S. Burroughs novel Queer. He is directing. Guy Pearce, Ben Foster, and Kelly MacDonald are attached to star in it. The book Queer was not published for over 30 years, and it's about the main character Lee's unrequited love for a younger man named Eugene Allerton and his obsessive search for a drug called Yage. So this will obviously not begin until after Boardwalk Empire has wrapped for the year.
It'll be amazing. He's a great director. He's directed parts of The Sopranos. I don't know if he's directed any Boardwalk Empire yet. He certainly will. I can almost promise you he will. Yeah. And if you look at the films that he's done, he's a great artist. So I'm sure it'll be.
I think it's going to be fantastic. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see.
It was funny. I was at a Halloween party I was at. I was talking to. Oh my goodness! One of the Entourage kids, and I'm sorry because I'm having a brain fart right now. One of the E, who plays E?
E, yeah.
My God, who plays E? Eric on the show. Anyway,
yes.
I just am so embarrassed because I know who he is. Anyway, but we were talking about the fact he's another one of those actors who directs, and I was saying to him, it's not always a slam dunk that a great actor can be a great director, and I can name several that tried, and you'll see their works and came up short. But then you get the ones like a Clint Eastwood, I think Buscemi, this kid from Boardwalk, that you can tell they're real. Ron Howard, of course.
Yeah.
You see, and Buscemi's definitely in that class. So it'll be definitely one to see.
I think it's going to be really interesting. It'll take a little 100%. While to come out, but it's great that we know that now. So from Atlantic City to New York City, the Boardwalk Empire cast hosted Prohibition Thursday on October 27th at Greenhouse, the celebrity hotspot on Varick Street in Manhattan. Michael Pitt, Jimmy Darmody, and Vincent Piazza, who plays Lucky Luciano, were in attendance. There were musical performances by special guests D. Nice and Chuck Barrett. Other guests included celebrity chef Chris Nerschel, Olympic boxer Eric Kelly, and Ashley Simpson. And reportedly Ashley is dating Vincent Piazza, Lucky Luciano.
So I told you, I know, I might have said it weeks ago, when we were at the J-Lo concert, Vincent was there, and we talked briefly about the show and just how much he loves doing it. And he's going to be in L.A. more, and he said he'd stop in and do the show at some point.
Oh, fantastic.
But so cool. It's interesting that, he's with Ashley Simpson.
I would never think that.
Right, no, I know. But I think, that report you're getting it from, if it's the same report I read, they were alleging that she was... just on her BlackBerry all night and texting and just didn't want to be photographed. And
at that party.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You see that it's funny. A lot of some of the stars that aren't as big as they may think they are, they're the ones who are like, oh no, I can't be photographed. Or where's my bodyguard?
That's so true, actually.
Right. You see this all the time.
It's not just stars. I think it's people. Because, like executives, politicians, that whole thing. It happens with a lot of people.
But there's like a lot of the mid-level ones in the business, it's interesting, whereas the cream of the crop ones are generally much more laid back and much more even easier to work with and deal with oftentimes. Yeah.
And then you wonder, is that why they're successful?
Yes. No, that is why.
I mean, I think.
That's
what I think as well.
I think so.
So that's your AfterBuzz TV news and gossip for the week of November 6th 2011. So I think we need to get into
Your AfterBuzz TV
predictions. So we saw a little bit of a preview for next week. Kind of looked a little, all over the place. Things happening. Nucky coming back, obviously, with his hand wrapped.
And classic Nucky, he's confronting all of them. With his hand. Because now it's like, okay, we want to go there. We were playing.
They've pushed him.
Well, there was rules of war,
right?
Maybe that they were obeying. Like, we're going to smile to each other's faces, but then we're going to just fight in the political arena. May the best man win. Now that it's gone to this level, that's why he's going in. His suit's very dark, and he's got it wrapped up. Now he's going to say, okay. And remember what he said to Eli a long time. He said to Jimmy, "You don't even know the rules. Forget being able to win this game. You don't even know the rules."
Yeah, that's right.
And so clearly, he's broken the rules by making it like this. And I'm looking for a big comeback, from which I've said from the beginning. I think the next several episodes
it's going to start to be the Nucky show, really aggressing. More than
he's going to figure out a way out of this and spin it around.
I think he will
Nucky.
too.
And
There's no question.
but I love next week. We're going to see a confrontation there.
What do you expect from Van Alden? Anyone? Do you want to, Michelle? Do you have an idea about Van Alden?
I think that she left him for good.
Oh, she's gone.
With that baby. She's so gone.
Yeah.
And
will we see Lucy again?
I don't think so. I think if we do, we will see her, in passing, just to complicate something. As her great big fabulous star self coming back into Atlantic City, something like that. I can't imagine her coming back, groveling, and I can't imagine her, wanting to. I think by now she would consider Atlantic City slumming it,
right,
for her, because she's going to be a great big star.
That might be for Paz.
It might be.
Wow,
it might be
interesting. I think again, he's just like the way Nucky's gonna now is gonna come back. Van Alden is only gonna get stronger every episode. I think from here on in, because he's shed himself of everything.
Yeah, now he has none of that shame.
Nothing to hold him back, or nothing. No one can blackmail him. The wife knows it. He's just. I think he's nothing left to lose now.
It's just gonna get messier and messier from here on out.
Yeah. This woman's gonna kick his ass, I think.
Which woman?
Esther.
Oh, Esther.
Oh, really? You don't think it's going to work with him?
I think she will. I think that they're just going to have some tension,
But you think Esther? You think Esther's going to fall to his charms or his persuasion?
Van Alden's charms.
Yeah.
Really? Huh.
Interesting.
I think she's going to admire him in some way. I think she's definitely going to admire him, because I think she already did by him bringing that big stack.
Yeah.
But it feels like she'd be
calling the shots.
She'd be calling shots, and he'd be beneath. I think she kind of knows he's a little off.
Yeah, she's gonna.
And I think she'd let him maybe be the bitch and do a lot of the grunt work for him. I see her being more attracted to somebody higher up.
Yeah, I do too.
Not her attracted to him, but the other way
him
around.
attracted to her? Probably, yeah. He likes those kind of women.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. All right.
So we will see it next week to see.
For
Michelle Macedo, Kevin Undergaro, Jesse
Tim, how do we tweet you?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I'm at Tamara Jewelry.
There you go.
Thank you.
At Undergaro.
And you?
At Macedo Music.
At Macedo Music. So
MECEDO Music.
MECEDO Music. So we will see you next week for Boardwalk Empire. Check us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.